And let's give a shout out to Ghazghkull Thraka. Whoa, let's go. I love seeing Ghazghkull Thraka perform on lists, and the fact that he's on the list that ended up going 5-0 finally after all this time just feels right. It just feels mighty. It feels just. And not that I'm going to give myself credit for Joshua Cowlard at all for any of his list understanding and design, but let's just remember that this looks very similar to like Index Hammer guys, right? Where we were talking about Index Hammer, where there was Trukk Spam, and that for the most part, first people said, well, I'm just going to go heavy MSU. And then they realized, hey, actually having Gaz makes a huge difference, because there's sometimes where you really just have a problematic unit, and Gaz is sometimes the only way you can really get through that, or it just enhances the wall where it really just breaks the opponent's back, right? Orcs, people don't really think about orcs like this, but it's like a shock assault army where it wants to come in, hit you once really hard, break your back, and then just kind of still remain and exist and score enough points that you can't really come back and kill them fast enough. Gaz allows that for the most part, and actually allows you to get that final execution mortal blow on somebody. So let's talk about his list. We have Ghazghkull Thraka, 2 beast bosses, 3 war bosses, 2 beast 10-man beast snagga units. I love that they're 95 points. Absolutely loved it. 105 was always okay, but it still was too much. 95 feels excellent. A 10-man unit of boys at 80 points, something else we all appreciate. 3 by 5 Flash Gitz units. I've totally been in love with doing this. I've been doing a Dread Mob just because I'm personally playing Dread Mob, but I love 5-man Flash Gitz units, right? 10-man, they end up being a little bit unruly, quite large. They have larger bases, and for the most part, you're already kind of using your transports in other ways, and for the most part, these other ways are SWAT teams, which is why the 5-man units are quite effective. So as you can see on this list, he has 3 SWAT teams. So we have 3 5-man units of Nobz, followed by 3 5-man units of Flash Gitz. He has 3 minimum size units of Gretchens. I love that he's going for as many units as possible of these of Gretchen. Sometimes people still just don't appreciate them, right? When you're a little bit of a newer player, you're like, why do I need so many Gretchen guys? I got my 10. No, trust me, having more is usually going to be always viable at some point in your 40K career. He has only 2 Mega Nobz for Gaz, because that's really all you need for the bodyguarding. If you pay for that third, it's like a kind of premium. A Storm Boys unit, and then of course we have 5 Trukks. Yes, absolutely love that we have 5 Trukks. So we're back at it again, boys. We have the Trukk Spam. Shout out to Joshua for that. So pretty much he's saying it was hefty terrain with the rules. It was not UKTC, it was not GW, and it was not WTC. Putting that out there for anybody. That's what Joshua just told us. So it was just tested, proper terrain, where they had the, like I just said, 14 pieces of terrain on this, so it is quite dense, and he said it was quite hefty, but had a good shooting lane. So in my head, it's kind of feeling a little bit maybe like GW terrain, a little close to, like, right? Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in description, 5% off in the discount, because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. So let's take a look at our boy's path to victory. I always find that very important, because he started off going into Space Marines Gladius Task Force. People always talk about how Space Marines, let's say, are one of the lowest winning armies. I can understand that, because they're more like an entry-level army for people. They really don't have bad rules. So never sleep on a Space Marine player if you're an Orc player, but do understand that I do think this is one of our more favorable matchups. So just because they're low toughness means that our volume really, really breaks their back. So we have Apothecary Biologist, Fire Husband, Captain and Terminator Armor, Chaplain, Judiciar. Judiciars are super common, so start getting acquainted with Fight First, guys. We have an Assault Intercessor Squad, a big 10-man unit, and then we have 2 Jump Pack Assault Intercessor units, a large Blade Guard unit, an Eradicator Squad, a brick. It looks like, yep, we got an Eradicator brick, 200 points. Infiltrators, 3 Scouts, and then a Terminator, followed by a Redeemer and a Repulsor. Pretty standard archetype of Space Marines right now. Got to have the Eradicator, super effective kind of unit. As you can imagine, though, like I was saying, how orcs could just go great into Space Marines, having a bunch of SWAT teams where you're going to be just going into a bunch of T4 units, a couple T6, right? You do have Eradicators, but nothing that war bosses can't really handle. And Flash Gitz having flat 2 damage, lethal sustain means you just be chipping Space Marines away. Scouts can't really get away from you in other ways that if people don't have any kind of shooting can't. And these Judiciaries even not really hidden behind something durable, right? And not to mention, you still have gas. So something like a Terminator, the Land Raider, Redeemer aren't as terrifying, knowing that you can actually just run up into it and break its back. So I really love to see that. And of course, we know about the combo, critical 5s, gas, lethal, of course, rerolling, fishing. That means you could break its back in other ways if you just tag the Repulsor on the same shot, right? Gas could take out the Land Raider, and then Snaggas and the Beast Boss can take out Repulsor if you're lined up like that. I think I think just simply orcs to do quite well into Space Marines, right? So nothing there. Shout out to Joshua putting up a 99-point win. Love to see that when you actually get just 1 point of the short of the 100. Dang it, but I still love to see a really good score right there. So shout out to you. Let's see the second game. He goes into the Leagues of Votann. So I really, Joshua, if you're still here, let me know. Did you go first in this matchup? I want to know. Leagues of Votann do a really good job at board control if they bring on the tools, right? So let's see what they got right now. We got the Iron Master. We have 2 champions, 1 warrior unit, which these guys are cool because they can combat squad and then break into like combat squad means to break apart and go into Sagittars. Only 1 Sagittar. Okay. 1 Thunderkin unit, 2 5-man units of Berserkers, 1 5-man unit of their Termin version of Terminators as the Hearth Guard, 1 Big Breaker Terminators, followed by 2 Land Fortresses, 2 3-man units of Pioneers, and then 1 Jaeger unit. He said he went first out of 5 out of 5 games. That's fantastic. For an orc player, you really, really want that, right? So shout out to Joshua. That's fantastic. Whoa, for the initiative. So yeah, speaking of Leagues of Votann, so something I really like to see here more, not that I was playing Leagues of Votann, but when they have a lot more Sagittars, the Jaegers really stack with their ability, right? So Jaegers infiltrate, then Sagittars can really scout forward. They're T10, they're pretty tough. Guys can drop outside of them. These Thunderkin are pretty cool, you know, for damage wise. They hit on 4s. They have feel no pain, stuff like that. There's not as much chaff here as I would normally want if I was a Leagues of Votann player going into orcs. And in this case, something like a land fortress, because he doesn't really have that much stuff. He would want to take a land fortress and really stick it in the middle of the table and try to bait out enemy armies, because a land fortress is typically hard for other enemy armies to lodge, to take out of place, right? To just get out of the middle objective. Knowing that Leagues of Votann are always going to have this Terminator brick in reserves, it's always going to want to come down. The Pioneers always want to play off the battlefield edges. So their game is a lot about moving up forward, making up space for their Terminators, units that are within transports, and then really getting the initiative off on you, getting them grudges. And if things do die like their Jaegers, then they're just getting a grudge token for that. So them applying their grudge tokens matters a lot. Yet if you're inside transports and you're just kind of staging up around and they're having a hard time actually getting off on you when they want, and you have to actually go get to choose the selections and killing things, that kind of slows their roll. They can't really gain momentum in the way they want to, and then you get to stage up, punch them off the middle table if they choose to kind of try to check you. Because how I'm reading this list, you know, in my case, is that he has 2 of these land fortresses because he would, in some matchups, put one of them forward if the enemy can't really kill them, because he really doesn't have a lot of small units or a lot of the dedicated Sagittars, right? A lot of you guys know that the Leagues of Votann would bring 4, 5 Sagittars, and now they're going backwards into the fortresses, but because they think their fortresses are quite durable. They're not durable to Ghaz, and they're not durable to Ghaz plus a Beast Boss in War Horde. And then just we're staging up the field everywhere. So I love to see that. Interestingly enough, not sure where Leagues of Votann is going to be sitting at like their basic archetypes going forward. I just know that if they do go into, hey, we're going to go more elite with bigger bricks and more fortresses, then orcs with War Horde and Beast Bosses and Ghaz are going to like that more than a bunch of little Sagittars, which are playing more MSU style of game. Having to kill multiple Sagittars is a little bit harder for us. But 94-point win. Love to see that. Great job there by that. Going first, as Joshua said, on Leagues of Votann, just running them over, hopefully. I love to see that. Mini Marines is what I call Leagues of Votann. Shout out to me. So in this third game, he went to Awakened Dynasty. So in this player, I believe this player ended up going 4-1 that Joshua took down, right? Who was it? Nikita. Yeah, see, he went second place. So Joshua, took down a second place player. So I had to look up some of these rules, I guess, because I wasn't too familiar with Awakened Dynasty. I think I have it over here somewhere. Maybe that wasn't. Is this Awakened Dynasty? I might move too many rules, guys. Sorry. I'll come back to that in a second. Anyways. Oh, I took it down. That's fine. Pull it back up. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, chat. Do this live. You guys know that. So here's his list. So we have a Chronomancer with Veil of Darkness. This is kind of like their uppy downy type of I believe enhancement. Hexmark Destroyer, Luminous Cesaris, which Luminous Cesaris is amazing for an epic character. Just want to point that out. I'll probably put up his data sheet here in a second if you guys are familiar with him. We have an Overlord with Enigma Dermal Bond, Plasmancer, and then this Casket. So this guy can get a 4-up Feel No Pain is one of the enhancements. He has 3 10-man units of Immortals, a Reanimator, Scorpec Scarabs, some Crypto Thralls, which these guys stick to the Warriors of Immortals, I believe. We have a Doomsday Arc, 3 of those Doomsday Arcs. So Doomsday Arcs have 2 of these Gauss Flare arrays, which means they get a volume of 20 shots. These are strength 4, but I believe they're lethal. and then they get their Doomsday Cannon, which their Doomsday Cannon is, I believe, strength 14, D6 plus 1 shots with strength -3, flat 4 damage. So these guys are just gun platforms, essentially. They have a good amount of wounds, right? Good bulk of wounds, low toughness. I believe they're only toughness 9, built-in 4-up invuln. They do heal, of course, if you don't one-shot them. But definitely be aware of them if you're an Orc player. They're at the perfect point cost right now for Necrons to be taking them. 2 units of flayed ones, and then a Lich Guard unit. Lich Guard units are just pretty cheap, right? You got to expect either seeing these, maybe Praetorians around the battlefield, just because they're cheap for 85 points for T5 models that have decent armor saves and, you know, decent combat. So for the Awakened Dynasty, not too popular from all the Necron detachments that people would bring around, right? Set Awakened Dynasty right here. I did have them. I was pulling up that enhancement here. So Veil of Darkness, yeah, allows you to move, pick pretty much uppy downy here once you get to pick up the unit. And then the Cascade, you get stealth. So he's -1 to hit built into this. He can regen these models. That's why he's maybe going for 10-man units as well on that. And he can improve the armor penetration of these models as well. So he's looking for a little bit of volume, shooting. Really interesting in that case. Not sure if this is going to end up taking off. Of course, you have Luminar Caesaris. That's what I was going to pull up. Because Luminar Caesaris, amazing data sheet for battle line units, right? Because he buffs battle line units as an epic character. Let me pull that up. I should have already had that pulled up, to be honest. I'm ahead in my head, and then I didn't do it. So I'm doing it now. So Luminar Caesaris, and this is how it works, because normally Awaken, you're like, that's really not that good. But if you look at Luminar Caesaris, he assists. So one thing is, while this model is within 3 or more of friendly Necron units, he gains Lone Operative. He has a 4-up Feel No Pain. He is T8. He moves 8, 2-up armor save with the 4-up invuln, 9 wounds. So he's pretty much like a infantry version of Mazrog, but he's support of old Mazrog, but he actually supports infantry units near him. He gets a little bit of shooting at strength 9, -3, 3 damage. Maz didn't have any shooting. He has these melee arms that are 3 flat 3 damage, -3, and then some impaling legs. But in this detachment, because he's playing Awaken, he gets low knot for being around these battle line units that he then gives an aura to, where enemy friendly Necron battle line units within 3 of him improve in armor characteristic by 1, and then when they are targeted, they get built-in armor of contempt for simply being within 3 inches of him. All right. So yeah, and then at the end of the fight phase, if this model destroyed 1 or more models in this phase until the end of the battle, add 3 to the range of this augmentation ability. So it can actually get better the more he fights. So just know he's durable, he's infantry, so he can move through buildings, and he's really, really tough, and he's a character. So these 30 immortals, at least if 20 of them can stay within range of him, they're getting additional AP, they're getting a built-in armor of contempt on top of their normal abilities, on top of the Awakened Dynasty. So really, really a lot of volume there, and really just shoot down different armies. On top of having the boats, right? The boats are just devastating amount of volume right there as well, firepower as well. So the volume and quality of damage as well within that. So shout out to Joshua for taking him down. I would like to know what mission that was. If you were in the Discord, Joshua, that would have been great to get that mission pack. So then we go into the 4th game. Oh, sorry. And what did Joshua score in there? 94-point win right there. Shout out to you, dude. Great job with the score there. Then we go into his 4th game, which is the Nurgle Demons Stinky Boys. So I have some familiarity with this list. So let's see what's going on here. Oh, and shout out to our boy Tyler Howells. Got my objective markers yesterday. Thanks, man. Whoa! I hope you like those objective markers. Thank you very much for supporting, and thank you for giving the super chat right here. So thank you very much, dude, for 6 months. Means a lot. Thank you for supporting the channel. And yeah, good job to Joshua, dude. Great job, because now the Orcs got the respect, and we finally got our win, our GT win that we had been eluding us for oh so long. So we have Nurgle Stinky Boys. We have the Great Unclean One with the 4-up Feel No Pain Endless Gifts. So we have 1, 2, 3, simply 3 Great Unclean Ones. An Eronigus, so kind of like a 4th Great Unclean One, right? The epic name character. He does have an aura of reduce OC by 1. And mind you, these guys are going to have a 6-up Feel No Pain when they're within the shadow. Then you have 1, 2 units of Nurglings. The big brick of Nurglings is nice. 2 units of Plague Bears. These guys have sticky objectives. T5, 2 wounds apiece with the 5-up invuln. decent, pretty decent overall, like in my opinion. And then mind you, something to sleep on here that people sleep on is that you think Nurgle, they'd be like slow and they can't do anything. Just keep in mind that they do have the strat to advance and charge. Something I have taken, have to deal with the brunt of. 2 units of Beast of Nurgles. These guys are pretty annoying because if you don't fully kill them, they fully regenerate in that one phase. 2 units of Plague Drones. The thing about the Plague Drones is once they spit on you, they allow the other Nurgle units to reroll wounds against you. So when I mean spit on you, it means that when they do their ranged attacks into you. And then overall, they're just quite durable. I believe they're T8. They have a good amount of punches. Some of them are damage 2 because they have a mount technically. They get to drop within 3 or 6 of you because of how this demon detachment pretty much works, like Russian nesting dolls, where the closer they get to you, more things can drop close to you. And then 2 units of Soul Grinders. One thing about these Soul Grinders, they do have indirect fire. I believe it's strength 7, -1, 2 damage, and they're also lethal. So you do have to be aware of that as an orc player, that if this is a cunning Nurgle player, he's going to be looking for your Storm Boys for the most part, maybe even going for your Grata and your home field objective if he wants to, just to start bombarding you. If he can get just any T2 model, if your knobs are ever just staged up for some reason, he can just end up shooting these guys because he has indirect, with something not too common. Yeah, for them, it's really easy. Not to mention his fighting, which of course Waaaghtaktiks also, that's another thing Waaaghtaktiks does, where he can pick a unit within range of them and then give them +1 damage, right? So the great unclean ones can get +1 damage. He can give himself +1 damage. He can give the Soul Grinders +1 damage, which means all these guys can end up punching up. Not too reliable that they punch up, but they all do have lethal, right? So then these guys aren't super killing, but they can just spike killing potential. That's something that they can overlap with like kind of buffs, overlapping buffs, because they reduce your toughness and all these different things. So this is a sleepy, tough, strong army. The one thing that that's Nurgle, they're pretty annoying for the most part. How this list pretty much plays is they try to stat check you, and the one thing that super hard counters them is Gaz's critical 5 lethals, Beast Snagga Boyz units. You're gonna just run into this army. If both of your Beast Snagga Boyz are within range of 2 different great unclean ones, and they're within range of Gaz's or on Gaz assist, you can pretty much pick up 2 of these greater demons in one wall, no problem. And then you still have other things that can go around the battlefield and punch around. You can pop Flash Gitz, can pop lethal, and really do a lot of damage to Plague Drones or Beasts of Nurgle. Not to mention that the knobs actually have enough tough strength to get through both of those units and chew through them. Soul Grinders can end up being that weird, tough, annoying thing that's 100 for 80 points that if he's smart, he'll try to throw into you to bait out those beast bosses early, so his great unclean ones can survive. But just know that this list does hit hard enough to be respected, but your transports allow you to stage up and really take them out because they're very slow once they're in place, right? The trucks allow you to stage all over the field when they come down. Not an easy matchup by any means. No, if the player understands how to get those overlapping supports from the great unclean ones and Waaaghtaktiks, it's really a potent army. They have uppy downy all over the place, the advanced charging. So great job by Joshua for that. Love when you have Gazes and those Beast Snagga Boyz to punch up like. And then certainly, do I have that? No, that was cool. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Gene Stealer. So this Gene Steal person, so last person, I believe also, the Nurgle player, I think he ended up going 4-1 as well. I think if I can pull it up here. Oh no, he went 3-2. So he ended up going 3-2 as well. And then this player that we're gonna look at right now went 4-1. The Gene Stealer 3-2. They ended up going 3-2 also. Maybe Josh was just beating everybody up out here. Nicholas, no, he went 4-1. That's what I thought. Okay, so this guy ended up going 4-1 also, just like that Necron player. So Joshua had a hard path to victory here. The players he was playing were respected. So this Gene Stealer guy only lost 1 game, and it was only to Joshua. So shout out to you. So we have 3 Abominants, 2 Clamavises, 3 Kelomorphs, a Patriarch, and Reductus Saboteur. Most people don't know what any of these guys are, so let's pull it up real quick. So we have a Abonant. Why am I having weird? Sorry, I was speaking incorrectly today. Either way, we have Abominant with a 5-up feel no pain. So this guy is pretty cool because when he dies on a 4-up feel no pain, on a 4 he gets back up. Actually destroyed. Sorry, on a 2+ he gets back up. Excuse me. He gets back up when he dies. And when these guys can fight on death on a 4+. Excuse me. When he's leading those guys. So he leads Abrams. Abrams punch very respectably. So Abrams have strength 7 -2. They're subtract -1 the wound. They have a 5-up feel no pain. Their toughness 6 with 3 wounds a pop. So they're pretty much walking feel no pain guys. Remember, these guys can come back to life once they die. And then we have a Kelomorph. So Kelomorph is just annoying because he gets like free Overwatch essentially, where once per turn In your opponent's movement phase, if you end within 12 of this guy, he gets to shoot you as if it's the shooting phase, and then he gets to move D6. So he gets to shoot you, and then he gets to run away. And his pistols, so he shoots you six times with strength 6 minus 201 damage. So not devastating amount of shooting, but there's like 3 of these guys. And then he can also make you choose to take battle shock tests, which orcs really don't like, right? Because we do care about our stratagems a lot. Then we have a Patriarch, which is essentially like a Broodlord, and then Reductive Saboteur, which does some mortal wounds to you. He has 3 battle line units with flame. Oh, actually more than that. Sorry, I said 3. What's wrong with me? He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 battle line units with flamers, and then 1 hybrid unit. He has a Goliath Trukk. Of course, the 3 units of Aberrants, which hit really hard, we just spoke about, which are led by the Abominants. We have 2 units of Achilles Ridge Runners, 3 units of Achilles Ridge Runners, excuse me. These guys have overlapping abilities where they give additional AP if they shoot at the same targets. 3 units of Pure Strain. So these are just Gene Stealers to kind of scout up the field and start punching and be pretty fast. Just remember that as these guys die, they're coming back onto the field again. So the orc momentum really needs to be, keen here and consistent. And that means you need to not die too quickly in these exchanges, right? Because if you're diminished, then they can actually come back and kill you. Other than that, orcs actually have great profiles to kill all of these units, having a bunch of MSU Nobz and Flash Gitz, Beast Snagga Boyz all over the field. Then you have Gaz to really hold down the middle and really chin check any of these units. Well, if you're not familiar with the term of a chin check, it means you're checking someone's chin, right? And chins are notoriously known for knowing someone's durability, like you're talking about fighting, right? And Gaz saying, hey, you guys got 3 wounds and 5 up, feel no pain, where I got a bunch of 4 damage punches on you with +1 to wound. Let's see what happens, right? So that's where the orcs can kind of continue to steamroll over this. Easier said than done, because you do have to be, respectful of their damage output, because if they do enough damage to you on that first run and a bunch of them come back on the table, then you end up kind of dying too quickly. And that's, not controlling your rate of attrition, as we always talk about. So here we have, and actually, Joshua's list actually had a 10-man unit boys too. Shout out to that. So an 85-point win there. So shout out to Joshua for getting 5-0 there, taking down the Gene Stealers. And let's take a look one more time at his list. So we have Ghazghkull Thraka, 2 Beast Bosses, 3 War Bosses, 2 10-man units of Beast Snagga Boyz, a Boys unit, 3 5-man units of Flash Gitz, which are beautiful. I love them. Their volume of punches, their volume of shooting, their damage 2 in shooting, the ability to pop lethal. They're not relying on any detachment rules. They can play the game for what they are for 80 points. They're just great, interchangeable with Boys, but they can actually reach out and do damage. Love it. 3 5-man units of those, 3 minimum size units of Gretchen, just because having a bunch of these 40-man units really helps right now, especially with all the deep strikes, uppy downies, trying to do secondaries where you have to stand in corners of the board or stand in terrain. You just have to have everything else really engaged. Having these Grots around allows you to do that. 2 Meganons for bodyguards, 3 Nobz, because SWAT teams are fantastic. They haven't let us down since Index Hammer Boys. We have come full circle. And then 1 Storm Boy unit, followed by 5 Trukks. The last thing I want to say is, guys, this really does look like Index Hammer, and Gaz really did make his appearance once again. Like I said, Gaz just does something for us that nothing else in our army can do, and it really just supports what War Horde especially is trying to do. Can I like tell you to play Gaz and other detachments? Does he work? Yes, but where he really shines and really does what is irreplaceable is in War Horde, right? He can't really throttle the army like he can in War Horde, just because his lethals stack so well with the same sustain on that one WAAAGH turn for that one knockout blow. So we had questioned, is Gaz going to be around? Are we just going to go for max amount of units? And it seems like, at least for the first winning players list, the answer is yes. It's time for the Warlord, Ghazghkull Thraka, War, and Joshua Cowlard for his undefeated 5-0 victory. So thank you much, buddy, and great job to you. I'm very happy you used Gaz. I'm very glad you guys a bunch of SWAT teams. You shine bright like a diamond. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!